was always here in the week of 4th of July, which is coming up right away, and he'd give us each a dime or a quarter. That's the most money we'd ever seen. Go to Magna, you could get a drink for a nickel. You could buy a whole package of firecrackers for a dime. Oh yeah, the money, very little. One of the highlights was different guys. There was a guy down the street here, Buck Wilding. Always, a lot of guys had horses because all the work was done with horses. And they'd have their teams at different weights. Let's say this would go up to 1,400 pounds per animal, and the other you get up to around 2,200 pounds of big heavy workhorses like we used to pull a camp with. And they'd have pulling matches, dead weight pulling matches. They have them up there. You been to some?
Yeah, they have them in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Well,
they probably still use, and there's still a carryover. You can till more ground with a tractor and equipment in one day than you could do with a team of horses and equipment in a week. But that's why they had big families. Everybody on this street practically had 8 children. Because farms, you need cheap labor. But the problem is, when they get up old enough, then they all want to they start looking at the girls. The girls are nothing but trouble. I'm telling you. You start watching the girls, oh, you better get your hand off her leg, buddy. It's going to cost you, pal. Then somebody's got to leave, don't they? They have to find a way to make a living elsewhere. So and that's why the ground, it wasn't many years ago, there was Homestead Act in the United States. And you come across from Oklahoma and you staked out a square mile of property. I don't think you can do that today because you're getting more and more people, and there's more and more people moving to the city. They have to. They have to go where there's a job, because a job makes money, and money pays the grocery bills and the rent. Yeah, it's, we'll always see a lot more change. You will see more change than I'm talking about. But one of the problems that scares me is I had a professor of geology at the University of Utah said, it seemed, and he's speaking of crustacean life back in the Mesozoic, Triazoic periods or so, those are hundreds of millions of years ago. Well, we're looking at Jesus Christ and keeping time from him. We're 2,015 years from there. What is 2,000 years compared to 300 million? Just enjoy life. You can put your hand back on her knee now, but you watch it. I will. Yeah, life has been good. To grow up there with all my uncles. Ralph was, I don't know why, Ralph was always, he was baby Jesus. There is Jesus. And Ralph was baby Jesus. And Grandpa wanted Ralph to have the outfit. Now, I don't know what the outfit consisted of, but they would have worked it out. Because Gene, first of all, he left and got married and he worked for Utah Copper for a while and was going broke as far as I was concerned. And then Grandpa bought that ranch and moved him up there. Of course, they complain about it today. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. Grandpa wanted Ralph to own the Newton Sheep Company. Been 20,000 acres in Chalk Creek and all the rights for grazing that on the West Desert. Yeah, there's a lot of stories. I remember going out there on the desert. We stopped in some place. The Newton still have rights. They haven't used it for 50 years. But in a place called, there was an old ranch in the middle of nowhere out there, but they built a dam, and you could see ducks on the water there, but we had rights to water our sheep and horses and cows in there. The Moonshine Ranch. Now, what do you suppose they made on that ranch that they called it the Moonshine Ranch?
Well, maybe moonshine.
Made a little bit of whiskey, huh? Because that's how a lot of people, even around here, there was a lot of bootlegging going on here. Yeah, that's how they got by. Then they found out, look, bootlegging don't work. It doesn't work. Look at all that, like you make beer. My God, you should start your own brewery, girl. You make good beer. You should.
It's a lot of laws and investment that goes into that.
Well, no matter what you do, there's a lot of government is a lot of problem.
Yeah.
But you have to have government, or you have chaos. Say you had a brewery and you didn't have government. I just walk in, take a gun, boom! I want this brewery, and I shoot you and take it. That's it.
Yeah.
You got to have laws you got to live by. Yeah. But if you could only live the days that I did. I feel sorry for the younger generation, like the ones I just took to school. They're going to have a hell of a life, as I see it. Because one of the best times we had, do you remember the best times we had in this marriage was when we were making $9.63 a day. God, you come back and let's see, the rent is $35. We lived in a 7-apartment deal in Magna. $35 there. You think, boy, that's cheap rent, huh?
Not at $9.63 a day.
No, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
And that's why you need to see this show. I'll have to get that, see if I can get copies of it made. It was made by Professor Massey, the University of Colorado, at least 35 years ago. But it shows you every generation, it has different music, different attitudes, because you grow up in a different economic time. Mm-hmm. You experience things different. Now, your music, I think, stinks, and I haven't even heard it. You probably don't listen to Patsy Cline and Jim Reeves. And says, who the hell are they? Yeah, it's, you got rappers and all that, and I think, oh, God, that's not music, that's noise.
I think the same
thing. Yeah. I used to sing going around with Grandpa. I remember going up Immigration Canyon when they was herding the sheep. They'd gone through Salt Lake City and picked up there and went up there. I'll tell you a funny story. They got Bill Coon, an old guy in Magna. Well, he wasn't too old. They got him out of jail to help trail the sheep up to Little Mountain, where they stayed one night. And then they went in, the next day they went into probably Colville. So they hire him, get him out of jail. He'd been thrown in there because he'd been drunk, see. So Ralph, when we got to be about noon or a little after, he goes somewhere and he buys us a bunch of hamburgers. And there used to be what they called a Utah pie. It was about this big around, and they put it on a used paper crust, a cardboard crust. They baked them in there. They were good pies. Well, Ralph cuts them all in half. We have our burgers. Want a piece, some pie, Bill? Yeah. So he cuts it one in half, gives it to him, and we all have a half a pie, and we're eating away there. And your grandpa starts smiling. Didn't say anything, just a grin on his face. You knew something was up. He looked at Bill Coon and he said, Bill, how's the pie? He says, Ralph, it's really good. He says, sure got a tough outer crust. He says, why don't you take the cardboard off? He was eating cardboard and all. God, I was there to hear that happen. Oh, it was funny. funny. Yeah. Shipping the sheep out of Colville one time, it was still dark, because in the fall of the year, we'd ship the lambs to the railroad here in Colville. So they went there was 2 hamburger stands. They went down and got, I don't know, 20 or 30 hamburgers, hand them out to everybody, a couple apiece. And God, I started eating on this one. I says, Ralph, I said, this doesn't have any meat in it. He says, well, they got to make money somehow. Oh, God. Yeah, but to see those sheep trail, they trail just north of here. Where you probably come out 21st South.
I'm not sure. I get lost.
Did you come into Salt Lake City?
Yeah, I think we
You
came
come
down
on
56
I-15, and then you come off on 21st South.
Yeah.
That used to be a gravel road, and we herded the sheep down 21st South to go up through Salt Lake City. Now they're going 80 miles an hour on there. This is what drove... Well, you know what made the Newton Sheep Company? Was the people working for little to nothing to keep it going. Factor one. Factor two, Grandpa said, I saw the day when I couldn't even borrow enough money to pay my taxes. But then came along Adolf Hitler. He's the one who made the Newton Sheep Company and a lot of other businesses, because the price of wool went up for army uniforms. The price of meat went up. There were good days, because they expanded from like 6,500 acres to 20,000.
Wow.
Oh, yes. We saw it out there at Wendover, where we used to go through Wendover and then go south to Ferguson Station and into Deep Creek for the sheep in the winter. There at Wendover, Utah. You ever heard of the Enola Gay airplane?
Yeah.
Dropped the atomic bomb? They trained right out there.
Really?
Oh, yeah. One time, one of the Army trucks ran into Scott out there hauling out a load of bucks to the herd. He had to make them get other Army trucks there and haul all those sheep out to the herd. Yeah, I knew a kid, Rulon Cole. The guy used to drive for the trucking company where we went into the smelter and the mills and the power plant back when they first started there. He took Rulon Cole, and he would get a bunch of USO girls from Salt Lake City out there to dance with us. It's on. I ought to get another copy of that Utah deal. It shows that they called it one of the caves out there going into Wendover. They actually, the Army or military people cleaned it out. They called it Jukebox Cave, because they put in a jukebox in there and they probably cemented a dance floor. Oh, yeah. But Rulon Cole, I remember this guy drove bus after work. He drove Lewis Brothers stages and took out loads of girls out for dancing with the guys out there. And that's the crew that was practicing to drop the atomic bomb.
Wow.
Oh, God, this is an important place, I'm telling you. You think you live in all you got's a few salmon, and there's getting a few of those, less of those damn salmon, because Ralph caught them all. God, we had some good times. And I haven't been, well, I went once or twice after your grandpa died, but ain't no fun.
Yeah.
Because I still like get him right there, good, I'd pound him on the head. Yeah, but there, so many things happen. Just to the other side of this, you know how the mountain comes out here to Great Salt Lake and goes around there? When they trail across there, coming out of Foss and that, they'd stay one night there and then come around, and the next night they stayed in Magna. But I remember they bedded down on that side there, but the railroad right-of-way had a fence on both sides. But the sheep herders, they're not the smartest people in the world. They just smell different, that's all. But those sheep herders didn't watch those sheep, and a lot of them went out through the fence and bedded down on the railroad right-of-way. Well, when that train came through, it was ugly.